Pontifical Office of Biological Warfare speaks through scalpel and flame, through samples torn from the pit, through flesh broken open to yield fragments of revelation. Its halls are narrow vaults of incense, copper piping, and scriptural plaques etched with the names of martyrs who fell to plague and contagion. Every initiate who steps across its threshold abandons the vocation of simple healing. They are remade for war, conditioned through psalms murmured under chloroform, trained to sever life in silence and record the mystery of tissue, bile, and nerve as scripture. Those who endure the conditioning emerge with eyes that do not blink before the forms of hell. The fear that unmans the line infantry never enters their bones. Their trance carries them forward whenever the gates of Gehenna disgorge a beast too heavy for rifle fire, too vile for prayer. At that moment, the combat biologist advances. He does not kneel. He does not retreat. His pulse steadies, his sight narrows, his blade-drugged weapon shudders with liquid gospel. The Vivisector is their staff of office, a polearm spined with syringes and hidden reservoirs. Its haft channels more than steel. Holy ointments drip with relic shards. Chemical agents coil like serpents in glass ampules. A thrust opens a wound, and within that wound an apocalypse begins, burning nerves, clotting channels, relic dust grinding bone to ash. Even demons recoil, staggering from pain beyond their design. Those who do not perish are dragged aside, preserved for the table, their organs lifted in smoke-filled tents where data is harvested for the next arsenal of faith. Faith is sharpened in their presence. Commanders send them to the mire of no man's land, not to hold trenches, but to bring back knowledge embedded in muscle and marrow. Every corpse they leave behind is both a weapon fallen and a text recorded. Even when their breath shortens, even when gas hisses around their mask, they remain engines of collection. They are archivists of agony. The Iron Sultanate maintains the School of 99 Names, teaching failed alchemists to mimic the methods of the Pontifical Office. These operatives are trained to repeat what the Church has already sanctified, tracing weaker imitations of vivisection. Their presence confirms the origin of the craft. It was Rome that first sanctified the knife as gospel. It was the Pontifical Office that carried war into the cell. The combat biologist exists only where flesh, toxin, and scripture collapse into one theatre. Their trance has no poetry. Their training has no rest. Their blade is a reliquary with a trigger. Their step upon the trench floor marks the point where knowledge is carved from hell's skin and raised as offering. The Pontifical Office measures triumph in fragments of marrow, in glass jars lined with tissue, in catalogues marked with blood. Every deployment of the combat biologist carries a mandate of acquisition. Prize specimens are demanded. Demonic carcasses must be split. Organs preserved in sanctified fluid. Bones numbered and carried home as data for the arsenals of the faith. The battlefield becomes laboratory. In the gas-wet craters of no man's land, they lean over the twitching forms of hellspawn, scalpels carving sigils through ruptured muscle. Every incision is an interrogation. Every organ lifted free is a record of how the pit sustains its horrors. The combat biologist is not driven by cruelty. He is driven by the office's decree: extract, preserve, catalogue, weaponize. Faith flows through each vivisection, for revelation is harvested from the shrieks of dying abominations. Blessing markers appear beside them when their blade fells the damned. Each marker is more than tally. It is sacrament, a record of victory that sanctifies their continued harvest. Commanders count these markers at battle's end, reading them as omens of the office's favour. Glory accrues through captured organs as much as through bodies left to rot. The Vivisector serves two roles: executioner's polearm and archivist's scalpel. Its edge forces retreat in those not slain, nerve systems convulsing with pain beyond mortal measure. The mechanism hidden in its shaft injects fluid born from mixtures of toxin, relic dust, and chemical torment. The blade dissects as it kills. Those who fall are already opened, ready for preservation. The Church sanctifies this process as the sharpening of faith. To yield data from carcasses is to transform hell's own matter into scripture. A combat biologist renders heresy into relic. Flesh once dedicated to damnation becomes instrument of salvation, repurposed into compounds that strengthen munitions, lace artillery shells, and forge new gas agents for the trench fronts. The Black Grail remains their most coveted quarry. Combat biologists seize fragments of its victims, samples of metastatic vessels, even the shriveled remains of heralds. Each fragment carried back to New Antioch feeds laboratories that dream of cures, counterplagues, or at least munitions able to slow its spread. Whether these dreams ever manifest does not matter to the office. The act of harvest itself affirms the war. Speculation begins here. What does it mean for faith to rely upon data torn from hell? Does the sanctity of the Vivisector consecrate the act? Or is there corruption embedded in every sample preserved? If weapons emerge from these harvests, are they miracles, or are they diluted blasphemies hidden beneath church seals? The combat biologist never answers. Their trance is silent. Their collection continues. Their blessing markers accumulate. In their wake, jars clink, catalogues expand, and the pontifical office writes scripture in the ink of bile and ichor. The harvest never ends.